All right, so obviously this is a video about the graphing calculator. Some some quick like a quick rundown off the top of my head, kind of winging it here, just everything I can think of. That's someone who, especially someone who maybe has never touched one of these calculators before. These like TI-84 graphing calculators or TI-84 plus graphing calculators, some stuff that it'd be good to kind of get a look at here in the early stages of AP pre-calculus. So first turning it on, hopefully is pretty obvious. There's an on button. And the first thing I can think of to point out is if your blinking cursor is very, very dim, very, not very strong, it might not be your batteries. You might just be on a weird brightness setting. So you can do the whole brightness adjustment by doing the second button, and you can do like second down to make it, not as strong, or what you might be actually doing is trying to make it darker, like if it seems too dim or whatever, second up, second up, second up, second up, until it's dark enough, for your liking, okay? There's even like a number that pops up there if you saw in the upper right hand corner. But so that's the first thing. Second thing, hopefully in this quick video, there's a mode button. So this is like a menu to kind of toggle between all kinds of different modes. This first one, I don't know when we're going to want to change to something else here or here. Radians and degrees, like this is something, if I wanted to change into degrees, I would, just arrow it over and then hit enter to change it, and then I could like clear out of this menu or quit out of this menu. But for right now, I'll go back and hit enter, which is like equals, and get it back on radians. This one we might actually mess with eventually. But for now, hopefully your calculator is set on just normal function. This means like parametric. This means polar. So we're just going to stick with function. Not sure what these are. Geez, real. Really, I'm probably making this mode button, make it seem like it's more than it really is. This is probably the main one you might be switching back and forth a lot eventually, not even like soon. So maybe we'll just clear out of there, and let's look at the graphing, okay? So for actually, these are graphing calculators. So what's the biggest thing we're gonna, have on these things that we don't have on a regular scientific calculator? Making a graph. So really, and again, we're just trying to stick with the basics for now. The y equals button, that's going to be probably where you start, and right here there's multiple equations that you can enter, but normally we're just going to do one at a time. But really quick, okay, here's something to troubleshoot. If you look up here, and I'm not even going to go into like great detail right now what these mean, but if your graph is just not working, like this has happened before, like a student will be like, Mr. Falk, like something's wrong with my calculator. One of the bigger culprits and reasons is somehow like plot 1 gets highlighted up here. So you see how like I hit enter, and so all of a sudden plot 1 like stays highlighted. That messes stuff up with your graph. So I'm going to like hit enter again up here and make sure plot 1, plot 2, and plot 3 are unhighlighted. They probably are on your calculator, but I guess it's just one of those, troubleshooting things if your graph is not working. So anyway, let's just plot like a line, okay? 2x minus 1, okay? So y equals 2x minus 1. Let's say we wanted to graph that equation. Y equals 2x minus 1. So you just type in 2. And then here we go, ready? The x button is right here. where it says like x comma t comma, that's a theta, comma n. So right there, you just hit, and there's your x. All right. And then so minus is normal. So y equals 2x minus 1. Just like on a scientific calculator, there's like a negative button, which is different from the subtraction button. So there we go. Type it in. So it was the y equals button, and then y, and then typing in 2x. This is like the variable button, minus 1. Now what happens next is, okay, you ready? You could hit this graph button, but I'm not really sure what's going to happen, because hitting the graph button will go to the graph, but it'll, like, hitting the graph button is going to basically remember whatever, like, window size settings, or if you zoomed in on something. So, like, basically what I was taught when I was your age is whenever you're ready to graph it, you do zoom 6. So, I mean, that's a big thing that just kind of like I might be saying that in class, and like if I kind of have you guys enter an equation, I might literally say, all right, and then zoom 6 that thing, which that just means like hit the zoom button and you're picking zoom standard. Like you could actually arrow down to option number 6 for like zoom standard, but really if you just literally now type in 6, it'll accomplish the same thing. So if you ever hear me say like zoom 6 that thing, or zoom 6 that bad boy, which that just means like the standard like 10 by 10 by 10 by 10 window. Okay, does that make sense? Zoom standard, so I'm going to hit 6. So zoom standard goes to this like 10 this way on the positive x-axis, negative 10 on the negative x-axis, 10 up and 10 down. That's zoom standard. Let's go back into here to see what else. There's zoom box, there's zooming in, there's different things we can now do. But zoom standard is what I was taught as like a jumping off point for making a graph on these things, okay? Now if you wanted to zoom in, you could now choose option 2. It's like if I just do that straight up, the origin is still going to be in the middle. I'm going to have to hit enter again. So even once you select it, you have to hit enter again, and then it'll like be zoomed in a little bit. There is zoom box. If you wanted to kind of like box in like a certain area of the graph. So once you choose that, now you have to kind of move your cursor to wherever you want to start making like whatever part of the graph you want to zoom in on. So what you got to do is once I'm ready, I hit enter, and now I can finish making whatever box I want to make. See, this is what I'm going to be like zooming in on a little bit. And then once I'm ready again, I'd hit enter. And then if you need to zoom in on a certain part of the graph, there's the trace button. Like that's going to be pretty, useful sometimes to hit the trace button, and then you can kind of use the arrows to move up and down, and you see how it's giving you like coordinates for where you're at on the graph. So the trace button is useful. And then this window button, you could actually go in and type in like if you didn't want to do the standard 10 by 10 by 10 by 10 sized window, like if for whatever reason you go, ooh, like my graph is going to be way over on, like way to the right on my x-axis. So like if I want to do like 50 for my minimum x on my x-axis, and then 75 for my x max, and then same with the y if I wanted to do, I don't know, 100, to 2. So once you do that, like you're just going to hit now the graph button. Like if you wanted to set like a specific you know, section of the XY plane, you know. So if I just hit graph, it's going to go. I was actually thinking this was going to be blank. So I guess it just so happens that because this window I chose, it was very possible that this line was not going to hit this window at all. But hey, it turns out that our line of y equals 2x minus 1 is actually, but you see how like the furthest you see left was what, 50 xy's, and the furthest, you know, we were going to show to the right was 75, and then the y coordinates, that's like as far low would have been 100, and then as far, I guess with tracing, all that's working for me right now is left and right, not up and down. But you kind of see how that window function works. And the good thing is you can always just go back to Zoom 6, which is Zoom standard. Okay. I guess that's it for just the basics of graphing. And then now, once you have a function into the y equals, one of these y equals, like just y1 equals, there's this other thing I want to show you, and it might be the last thing I'm going to show you in this video, I think. I don't know if I can think of anything else basics-wise, you know. This plot 1, plot 2, plot 3 not being highlighted, that was like a troubleshooting thing. The brightness setting, that was another thing that could mess with people if you're not aware of the brightness. So this might be the last thing. You can make a table. So you see here, like above window, it's table set or table settings. Right above the graph is table. So let's see what happens if I do second graph. Okay. So that means I just chose to make a table, and that's based on the equation that's in my y equals, okay? Because see right here it says y1. That obviously refers to the equation I've entered into y1. So let's see if over here I can change this. So if I just type in 1, ooh, it's not letting me. Wow. See, I've had this calculator a long time. I was expecting that the settings to allow me. So if I'm not, see, look, if I type in like 8, it's not changing. All right. Okay. So so it's very possible that you have to go into your table settings, because what's happening here is, like, if x equals 0 into y equals 2x minus 1, then my output, so if my input is 0, then my output, 2 times 0 minus 1, negative 1. 2 times 1 minus 1, boom. 2 times 2 minus 1, is 3. So it's making an XY table for you. But if you don't want to just use like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as your input values, you can change it. I thought it was going to be able to allow me straight up. I've had this calculator for like over 20 years. But it's not letting me. So let's go to my table setting. So now I got to do, ready? Second window. If I do second window, I'll be accessing table settings. So all you have to do is go down here to like your independent variable. Remember, your independent variable is usually your x variable. X is usually like your independent, and then your y variable is usually your dependent. So right now, my independent variable, and so when you buy a brand new graphing calculator out of the box, this is what it's going to be. Like your independent variable is going to be on auto. So it's like automatically, like we just saw, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But if I want to enter in my own inputs, I'm going to go over here and now hit enter to change it to ask. I want my calculator to ask me what my input values are going to be. So now when I go back to second graph, so if I go back to my table, see now it's blank. So I want to type in 8 into 2x minus 1. It's going to be 15. 2 times, you know what I mean? Negative 3. If I want to type in negative 3. 2 times negative 3 minus 1. So whatever you wanted to do, 23, 100. You know, what's 2 times 100 minus 1? 199. Okay, so that's a pretty good video. Hopefully it wasn't too long. For like the basics right now of making some graphs and making some tables on these fancy schmancy graphing calculators.